My beloved child, I want you to pause and breathe. Because today I want to remind you of something precious. I saw you when no one else even noticed you existed. I heard the soundless tears you cried when you buried your face in your pillow, hoping the pain would end by morning. I watched you when your eyes stared blankly at the ceiling, wondering if things would ever get better, when even the smallest of tasks felt like climbing a mountain. When you smiled so others wouldn't worry, I saw the ache behind your grin. I knew how heavy your heart was. Every time you whispered, "Lord, are you there?" even when you weren't sure if I was listening, I was closer than your very breath. You felt invisible to people, but not to me. You were never alone, not for a second. When your strength was fading, and you told yourself, "I can't do this anymore," I came beside you, strengthening you in ways even you didn't recognize. I didn't need you to shout for me to come running. Your sigh was loud enough for my heart to respond. The world overlooked you, but I saw a masterpiece in progress. In the silence of your darkest nights, I was painting purpose over your pain. I was writing a story no one could erase, setting the stage for the rise you couldn't yet imagine. Every unnoticed act of love you gave, every time you sacrificed, every moment you showed up for others while barely holding yourself together, I recorded it all. Not a moment of your suffering was wasted. You are not forgotten, not abandoned, not overlooked. You are seen, known, and deeply treasured. And because I saw you at your lowest, I will make sure the world sees you when I lift you to your highest. The same eyes that missed your struggle will witness your strength. The same voices that were silent in your pain will echo my name in your victory. Stay close to me now, for what I am about to unfold in your life will not only heal you, but honor the journey you've walked through with me. I remained steadfast when others chose distance. While hearts changed and people disappeared without a reason or farewell, my love never flinched. I was the constant presence in the whirlwind of your abandonment. Even when their footsteps faded and doors closed without warning, I was right beside you, unshaken, unmoved, unwavering. You didn't need to earn my loyalty. It was already yours. When companionship turned into isolation and conversations turned into silence, I whispered into the emptiness so you would know you weren't forgotten. I saw the way you reached for anyone who could just understand, yet no hand reached back, no soul truly saw your breaking. In those crushing moments, when you barely felt alive, when your soul was drained and your will to continue evaporated, I became the breath within your chest. When even your own mind waged war against your desire to live, I gently cradled your spirit and said, "You will make it." My voice covered you like a soft blanket when fear and despair wrapped themselves around your thoughts. You didn't even notice, but it was my power that kept your heartbeat steady when sadness tried to slow it down. In your darkest hour, when you couldn't speak a single prayer, I interceded for you. I didn't demand perfection or performance. I was already committed to your rescue. When you felt like you were drowning in a sea of confusion, it was my arms lifting you above every crashing wave. Even as you questioned your purpose, wondering why you had to walk through such intensity, I was preserving your identity beneath the weight of weariness. You didn't have to impress me to stay. I stayed because my love for you is not temporary. When people judged what they didn't understand, I protected your essence. They saw your mistakes, but I saw your mission. And while they gave up, I invested even more in your redemption. You don't realize it yet, but my presence in those lowest moments built the unshakable core you carry today. While others walked away during your breaking, I remained to walk you into your becoming. You don't owe me anything. I chose you, not because of what you could give me, but because I couldn't leave you to suffer alone. Your life was never meant to end in heartbreak. That moment when you felt completely empty was not the finale, it was the prelude to a rising so powerful. The very ones who left will look back in awe. What they saw as weakness, I knew was transformation. What they labeled failure, I knew was the process of fortification. I stayed, not as an observer, but as the architect of your healing. And now, every breath you take is not just survival, it's a signal that destiny is awakening. Your breath is not just yours, it's my proof that purpose is still alive within you. You are standing today because I never left you yesterday. And just as I remained then, I remain now, leading you into a season where presence speaks louder than applause and where my faithfulness will eclipse every abandonment you endured. The terrain that once wore you down will now carry you upward. Every place that felt like a war zone beneath your feet is shifting into solid ground designed to elevate you. You've grown used to walking cautiously, waiting for another blow, bracing for the next betrayal, and tiptoeing through disappointment. But that season is shifting, and with it, the very landscape under your steps is being transformed. You are no longer required to survive the day now. You are destined to stand boldly in the promise. The tension you once associated with forward motion is being replaced by a divine confidence. The pressure beneath your feet, which once came from resistance, will now be the push that lifts you higher. You are not standing on ruins anymore. You are rising from the rubble. You are walking across territory that I've declared yours, not because of what you've done, but because of who you've become in me. The battles you've walked through have not disqualified you, they've trained you. Every wound taught you how to walk with strength. Every detour instructed your discernment. The shaking of your past was not meant to bury you, but to awaken what had been sleeping inside your spirit. And now, instead of trembling beneath the weight of your pain, you will feel the steady foundation of my authority beneath your every step. Your journey forward is no longer filled with landmines of fear or anxiety. This path I've cleared ahead of you is firm, intentional, and radiant with purpose. Others may not understand how the same person who once stumbled through rejection is now striding through restoration, but I do. I'm not just giving you space to walk, I'm giving you altitude to soar. What seemed unstable before has now become the platform from which your voice will rise, your faith will echo, and your impact will extend. You're not stuck anymore. You're not circling the same mountain. You're not fighting shadows from your past. I have spoken stability over your next steps. This is the moment you stop surviving terrain and begin ruling the ground you once feared. Because now, you are grounded in me, and nothing can shake what I have established. The very earth beneath you is responding to my command, aligning itself with your calling, adapting to your rise. You'll notice the shift in the way your heart moves forward, less panic, more peace. The heaviness you used to carry in your chest when facing a new day will be replaced by a deep knowing that you're no longer walking alone, and you're not walking to prove anything. You are walking because you belong in the next chapter. This ground is no longer covered in ashes, it's glowing with promise. The platform beneath you is not made of comfort but of calling, and I will strengthen you to stand on it with clarity, vision, and resilience. Even when the winds of doubt try to return, they will find no place to land. Because now, you're not only rising, you're planted, rooted in truth, watered by grace, and shielded by my favor. You've been prepared for this. The time has come to stop wondering if you're ready. You are. The weight you used to feel from the earth is lifting, and in its place comes a surge of momentum. Not random, not rushed, but orchestrated with heaven's precision. You are now standing in the exact moment where the battleground becomes a launching pad, and those who watched you crawl through pain will be unable to ignore the strength with which you stand. They will have no choice but to watch as you rise, not by chance, but by the foundation I laid beneath you long before they ever knew your name. You were never idle, you were being instructed in the quiet. What they mistook as surrender was actually strategy. When the world around you demanded a reaction, you chose reverence. When they expected you to break, I was molding you in restraint. The moments when your voice went unheard weren't evidence of weakness, they were sacred seasons where I was teaching you how to listen to me above the noise. While others chased attention, I was drawing you into alignment. Your silence was not the absence of power, but the preparation of purpose. You didn't realize it, but in those hushed days, I was rewiring the way you perceive, decide, and move. I removed the distractions, not to isolate you, but to intensify the clarity of your inner vision. While they whispered about your delay, I was speaking destiny into your depth. You weren't losing ground, you were absorbing revelation. Every moment where you held your tongue instead of defending your name. Every time you let the accusation go unanswered. Every season where the crowd vanished and you felt alone, I was there, sharpening your discernment and fortifying your spirit. The silence you endured wasn't empty. It was saturated with design. You weren't overlooked, you were being developed beyond the reach of misunderstanding. Because what I am building through you doesn't require constant explanation, it demands divine execution. I was unearthing the treasures buried within you, and that required quiet. The deeper I called you, the stiller your world became. And now, you carry a weight of wisdom that noise could never produce. Your delay was not denial, it was a holy pause for deeper instruction. And when you emerge, you won't need to prove yourself, your presence will speak what your words never had to. I didn't allow the silence to break you. I used it to build you with a strength that doesn't need applause to validate itself. While they judged your distance, I was anchoring your soul. They assumed the absence of noise meant nothing was happening, but I was working beneath the surface in ways they couldn't perceive. The reason I kept you quiet wasn't to keep you hidden forever, it was to release you with unmistakable clarity. I made sure your responses weren't reactive, but redemptive. And now, you carry depth they cannot duplicate. They will soon realize that your silence was not the end, it was the womb of your next dimension. You're not rising as an echo of someone else, you're rising with originality birthed from sacred stillness. That season of being unspoken, misunderstood, misinterpreted, it will be the very reason your voice now carries weight. Because you've learned the beauty of pausing before proclaiming. You've understood the strength of listening before launching. And now, every word you speak will carry the authority of heaven, not the reaction of hurt. I didn't silence you to punish you, I silenced the world around you to awaken you to the sound of my calling. What looked like inactivity to others was the incubation of impact. What seemed like dormancy was me digging deeper so your roots could hold the weight of what's about to blossom. Don't despise that season. It was sacred. And now, as I lift you, those who once mocked your quietness will marvel at your clarity. They will realize that what they saw as stillness was actually strength being born in silence. And they will not only witness your voice return, they'll feel the shift it carries. Because now, when you speak, it won't be to impress, it will be to ignite. And that fire had been kindled in secret for far too long. It's time. What they saw as moments you might collapse were actually moments I held you together. The pressure wasn't there to break you, it was there to shape you. You weren't crumbling, you were being carefully transformed. Every layer of heat that surrounded you was never out of control, it was precisely calibrated to draw out the brilliance hidden within you. Gold doesn't fear fire, because it knows the flame is the key to its purity. Likewise, I saw what you were capable of becoming long before the pressure ever arrived. You were not in a place of punishment, you were in the fire of refinement. I allowed that intensity, not to crush your spirit, but to reveal the strength that complacency could never uncover. While others observed you under tension and assumed you were reaching your limit, I was increasing your capacity. You were learning how to endure without losing your identity. You were being trained to stand in spiritual maturity while your surroundings tried to shake your certainty. There were days you felt like giving up, but someone kept you moving. Someone was me. I was the steady hand beneath the surface of your struggle, keeping your foundation intact while I purified the motives, thoughts, and desires within you. You didn't collapse because I infused your heart with divine courage. Even in your moments of trembling, you didn't abandon your assignment. And that is the proof of your authenticity. You were willing to stay in the furnace until the process was complete. I wasn't testing your worth, I was confirming your readiness. The flames that seemed too much were simply removing what you never needed. Self-doubt, people-pleasing, fear of failure, insecurity, hidden shame, all of it began to melt away. And as it left, what remained was rare, resilient, radiant. I wasn't just getting rid of what held you back, I was unveiling what had always been buried beneath the layers. And now, what you carry is no longer fragile, it's fortified. No longer unstable, but unshakable. Because what comes through fire doesn't fade, it shines. Your character wasn't just preserved, it was perfected. not by the applause of others or the comfort of ease, but by the unseen strength that was forged in adversity. You now carry a glow that can't be explained by external success. It's internal. It's eternal. It's the light that remains even when the room is dark. They will look at you and be drawn to the radiance that was born through resistance. They won't see the fire, but they will see the evidence of having endured it. And in that glow, they will find hope for their own journey. Because your endurance isn't just for you, it's a testimony that tells others transformation is possible. And here's the truth: I never left you in the flames. I walked with you through every moment of it. I didn't promise to keep you from the fire. I promised to bring you through it untouched by what was meant to destroy you. And you emerged not just whole, but wiser. Not just stronger, but brighter. The days ahead won't require you to chase validation, because you now know your value is not dependent on anyone's recognition. Your worth is not fragile. Your journey is not ordinary. And your rise is not optional, it's inevitable. Because what I refine, I also reveal. And what I reveal, I elevate. This is your unveiling. What you gained in the fire will sustain you in the spotlight. What you became in the pressure will carry you through the promotion. And every person who thought the flames would consume you will now witness the gold I've drawn from your soul. They scrutinize your journey from a distance, assigning opinions to your life without ever understanding your depth. They counted you out before your story even unfolded, mistaking your quiet perseverance for inadequacy. But what they overlooked is now standing in full view, undeniable and radiant. You never needed their approval to be chosen, but now I will allow them to watch what they could never predict. I didn't raise you in public because I was preserving you in private. I let them form assumptions so I could show them my truth. You didn't have to defend yourself. I've always been your defender. While they debated your potential and tried to limit your reach with their words, I was expanding your capacity in silence. I didn't need their permission to bless you, and now they will witness the outcome of my favor resting upon you. They thought your value could be measured by appearances, but your strength was being formed in dimensions they could never access. Now the veil is lifting, and what I've placed within you is coming into view, not to boast, but to bear fruit that even your critics cannot deny. The same mouths that once spoke against your rise will soon fall silent, not because you silenced them, but because my work in you will speak louder than any accusation ever could. You are not rising in retaliation, you're rising in revelation. I've shown you who you are, and now I'm allowing the world to see it too. This unveiling is not about vengeance, it's about vindication through transformation. You didn't need to shout to be seen. Your life is now the evidence. The journey they mocked has become the path of my glory. The very circumstances they pointed at with judgment are the ones I use to shape something pure and lasting within you. Your rise will not be loud, but it will be impossible to ignore. The weight of your character will stand taller than the noise of their disbelief. You are walking into spaces where their opinions no longer hold power, because your identity is no longer shaped by human voices. They'll remember the labels they gave you, but they'll also be forced to confront the reality of who you've become: refined, grounded, called. Not in spite of their doubts, but because I built you where no one was looking. Your light will now stretch beyond their assumptions, and your steps will carry a grace they never expected. There will be no need to look back, only forward, because what's ahead of you holds more honor than anything their skepticism tried to strip away. Your rise will not be a moment, it will be a movement of redemption that ripples into every area of your life. And their presence in the audience is not for your satisfaction. It's so they may learn that my hand is undeniable. I am not lifting you to display your greatness, I'm lifting you to reveal my glory through your yielded life. This is more than just a comeback, this is a confirmation. What they couldn't see then is about to be made known in ways that leave no doubt. You will no longer live under their small expectations. You are now aligned with my limitless design. You don't carry resentment, you carry radiance. You don't seek validation, you walk in victory. And as your steps grow stronger and your reach becomes wider, those who once questioned your presence will have no choice but to watch as your purpose unfolds one divine layer at a time. The time is near when questions will replace judgment, and wonder will take the place of doubt. They'll come not to ridicule, but to understand, because something about your rise will defy explanation. It won't make sense how you endured what should have ended you. It won't be logical that your joy remained when circumstances gave you every reason to surrender. Their voices, once filled with criticism, will now carry curiosity. And when they look into your eyes searching for answers, they won't find bitterness, they'll find me. I have written myself into the layers of your healing so deeply that every detail of your survival tells of my presence. You didn't escape by luck or chance. Your breakthrough wasn't birthed by human effort. They will see that your rise came from something greater, something unshakable, something divine. I was the reason you stood when everything else fell apart. I was the unseen strength during your longest nights, the steady whisper when fear screamed the loudest. I didn't just guide you, I became your foundation. And now, even your smallest responses will carry my reflection. You won't need to preach a sermon, your very life will declare the truth. When they ask how you made it, the peace in your voice will answer before your words ever do. You'll speak gently, but what they'll hear is authority born from encounters with me. They will be drawn not to your success, but to the serenity they cannot replicate. It's not about what you have, but who has you. And when they press you for more, you won't lift yourself, you'll lift me. Because you know that without my presence, none of it would be possible. You remember every moment when the only plan you had was to survive the day. You recall the weight that threatened to bury you, and the unseen grace that lifted you instead. And now, when the questions come, how did you keep going? Where did your strength come from? Why didn't you give up? You will answer with clarity and humility. Because you know it wasn't your intellect, your ability, or your connections that saved you. It was the mercy that surrounded you like armor, the favor that paved roads in the wilderness, the love that never loosened its grip. What should have been your breaking became your turning point. Not because you found a way out, but because I became your way through. And they'll begin to realize that your life isn't a comeback story, it's a testimony. Your existence is a living example that faith isn't fantasy, it's power. They won't just admire your perseverance, they'll begin to seek the source behind it. You were never meant to keep me hidden. I allowed the storm so you would carry proof of my rescue. I permitted the struggle so you could carry my glory with authenticity. I trusted you with adversity so that you could be a light in places most people are afraid to enter. And now that the winds have calmed and the waves have settled, the marks of the storm still remain, but they shine with purpose. Your wounds didn't vanish, but they've been touched by my hand. You carry stories not of defeat, but of deliverance. So speak with honesty, walk with grace, and shine without fear. You were shaped for this. And when they gather around your life like witnesses to a miracle, tell them the truth. They are not seeing a survivor. They are seeing a Savior who never left your side. There are depths of glory that only emerge through surrender, and I led you into a process that stripped away what could not survive in the place I was taking you. The breaking was never to destroy, it was to awaken. I dismantled what was fragile so I could rebuild with what was eternal. Every fracture in your heart was permission for me to fill you with something more sacred than ease. Transformation. What others viewed as collapse, I called construction. I allowed pressure to touch you, not because I abandoned you, but because I was shaping something that could not be shaken. You see now that the breaking was not random. I was present in every splintered moment, overseeing the refinement with careful love. Nothing was wasted, no tear, no setback, no unanswered question. Every unspoken cry, every shattered expectation, became the soil where my presence took root in ways nothing else could have accomplished. I wasn't distant when the foundation cracked. I was the one holding it all in place while everything superficial was removed. If I had allowed you to build your future on comfort or performance, it would have crumbled under pressure. But instead, I allowed the breaking so your foundation would be made of something unshakable, me. You didn't just get through that season, you were fundamentally changed by it. What once relied on others' acceptance now leans fully into my approval. What once needed recognition now draws its breath from intimacy with me. You don't need to return to who you were before the breaking. That version of you wasn't lesser, it was just incomplete. Now you carry clarity that couldn't be learned in ease. You walk with insight that only comes through pressing. You see with eyes that no longer search for validation, but scan for my presence. Your confidence is no longer surface deep, it is anchored in surrender. And this rise I've orchestrated for you, it cannot be imitated, duplicated, or orchestrated by human hands. It doesn't follow the world's pattern. This elevation isn't built by ambition. It's born from obedience. Your story isn't one of mere recovery, it's one of revelation. I allowed the unmaking so that what emerged would be entirely touched by my spirit. There is a difference between a rise built by effort and one formed through intimacy with me. You are living proof of the latter. You didn't force this, you flowed with me. You didn't demand the outcome, you yielded to the process. And now, what I bring forth will carry a fragrance that points every heart back to me. They will marvel, but they won't be able to credit the natural. Because everything about your journey speaks of a supernatural thread that held it all together. The way your spirit remained intact, the way your hope rekindled, the way peace followed you through chaos, all of it points back to my hand. You are not simply being restored, you are being unveiled. This version of you isn't a patched-up replica of what was broken. This is a new creation, designed through holy breaking, guided by eternal wisdom, and lifted by sovereign timing. You are not rising as a reaction to pain, you are rising as the result of being rooted in me through it. And that kind of rising cannot be stolen, stopped, or silenced. There is no need to explain how you've arrived here. Let your life speak for itself. Let the fruit of your surrender echo louder than the opinions of your past. You're not coming back, you're being revealed. This is not the end of your pain, it is the beginning of a purpose that will stretch far beyond you. I allowed the breaking not to punish but to promote, not to reduce but to reveal. And now, you walk not in fragments, but in fullness. They will see you and know only I could have done this. And that is exactly how I intended it. The moments that once weighed you down like anchors are now being redeemed as instruments of testimony. Nothing you endured is lost in obscurity, it all carries significance, woven tightly with grace that moved even when you didn't perceive it. The struggles you once tried to forget, the days you felt suffocated by heaviness, the places where you questioned your worth, all of them are now being transformed into declarations of my faithfulness. I didn't overlook your ache, and I didn't wait for you to get stronger before I started working. My grace was already operating in the depths, quiet and constant, wrapping around your soul like oxygen in a suffocating room. Every time you thought you had reached your limit, it was grace that extended the boundary. Not loudly, not forcefully, but gently, consistently. You didn't see it, but it was holding your heart when emotions numbed your senses. It was walking beside you through every silent hallway of disappointment. And now, when you look back, you won't see just pain, you'll see footprints of mercy scattered across every memory you once wanted to erase. You'll recognize that you were never abandoned, not even for a second. Grace was not waiting at the end of the tunnel. It was carrying you through the darkest turns within it. Even in the places where you made mistakes, even in the seasons where you couldn't forgive yourself, grace was working behind the curtain, repositioning your heart, restoring what you thought was permanently lost, reconfiguring what the enemy tried to confuse. And now, those very places you once avoided are being rewritten with purpose. I am reintroducing you to your own history, not with shame, but with glory. You will look at the ashes and see how I planted seeds in the soil of what seemed like ruin. Others might only see your present, but you will know the full picture, and in that knowing, peace will take root. The pain that was meant to silence you will now be the platform where my goodness is heard. You will speak not from theory, but from lived truth. And the authority you carry won't come from perfection, it will come from perseverance wrapped in grace. No one else could have brought beauty from what you lived through. No one else could have preserved your spirit without hardening your heart. But I did. And now, even your tears will testify, not of lust but of redemption. Every emotion, every breakdown, Every misunderstood season will be recast as evidence that I never stopped working. You didn't escape, you were preserved. You didn't rebuild alone, I was the architect of every healed part. Your story isn't polished, but it's powerful. And the pain you thought disqualified you will now qualify you to speak into others' healing. They'll listen not because you avoided suffering, but because you rose through it without losing your light. You will carry empathy where others carry judgment. You will extend hope where others offer opinion. Because you understand what it means to be held when everything else falls apart. You understand what it means to survive without applause, to keep going without being seen. That understanding, born in pain, will now be your anointing. Not a badge of sorrow, but a mantle of purpose. They will see it in your eyes. They will feel it in your presence. You won't need to explain much, your life will do the speaking. And every scar, once hidden, will shine with undeniable evidence that grace was moving when everything else stood still. So don't erase your past. Let me redeem it fully. Let me use what once brought tears to now release transformation. Nothing is wasted. Not with me. The pain that tried to define you will now glorify me. And through it all, the world will see not just that you survived, but that my hand was always guiding you forward, even in the moments you almost let go. You remember the moments when opportunity seemed so close, yet vanished without warning. The phone that never rang, the conversation that ended too soon, the answer that never came, the position you thought was yours but slipped through your hands. All of those experiences whispered no, and at the time, it felt personal, unfair, even cruel. But now you're beginning to see what I was doing all along. I wasn't withholding good from you, I was guiding you to what was designed with your name written into it. Not every closed door was a denial of your destiny. Some were divine detours shielding you from paths that would have diluted the fullness of your calling. If I had let you walk through every entrance you prayed for, you would have settled for a stage that couldn't carry the weight of your purpose. I saw the entire blueprint, not just the small section in front of you. So I gently blocked what you thought you needed and rerouted you toward what you didn't yet know you were made for. You were being panicked, you were being positioned. And now, as your heart awakens to what I've kept hidden until the right time, clarity will begin to wash over every moment that once left you confused. You'll no longer see those endings as failures. You'll see them as pivots, redirections that spared you, protected you, and rerouted you to the exact coordinates where your gifts would flourish and your voice would be heard by the right audience. I wasn't limiting your influence, I was preserving its impact. Some rooms you thought you were ready for would have drained your spirit and distorted your vision. So I placed barriers where you saw passageways, not to hinder you, but to protect the purity of what I've placed inside you. That job, that connection, that relationship, that platform, it may have looked promising, but I knew the hidden cost. I knew what it would take from you. I knew what it would distract you from. And because I love you more than I love your comfort, I intervened. Even when you were angry. Even when you didn't understand. Even when you cried out and asked me why, the answer was always silence. It wasn't silence, it was strategy. I was redirecting you to a space where your soul would thrive, not just survive. And now, as doors begin to open that you never knew existed, you'll feel the difference. These new openings won't require you to shrink, pretend, perform, or compromise. You'll walk through them with peace, knowing they are not opportunities you forced open, they are gifts I've entrusted to you. This stage is not something you chased, it's something I built with intention, while you were being refined in the waiting. And the audience that awaits on the other side of these doors, they're not there for entertainment, they're there for impact. Because the message I placed inside of you carries weight, and that weight will find a home in the right environment. The ones who once overlooked you won't be able to deny the shift. They'll notice how the doors are opening now, not by hustle, but by heaven's timing. And you will know, with every step forward, that it wasn't luck. It wasn't coincidence. It was me, weaving together every delay, every detour, every deviation to lead you here. Own more what didn't open. Rejoice in what I'm unveiling. You're no longer knocking on doors that were never meant to hold your future. You're walking through the ones I crafted while you remain faithful in obscurity. And this time, no one will be able to shut what I've opened. Because it's not a door held by hinges, it's a destiny held by my hand. You didn't arrive here by chance or convenience. What rests on you now, the authority, the wisdom, the peace, it wasn't handed to you lightly. It was wrestled for in moments no one saw, through battles waged in silence and prayers whispered in desperation. There were nights when the weight on your chest felt unbearable, but you still pressed your face into the floor and cried out to me. There were mornings you rose with swollen eyes and trembling hands, yet you kept moving forward when it would have been easier to disappear. Every breakthrough you now walk in was preceded by a breaking that nobody applauded. This crown wasn't crafted from comfort, it was forged through your perseverance, your surrender, and your refusal to let go of me even when your faith felt paper thin. When you thought your prayers were bouncing off the ceiling, I was collecting every word, every groan, every longing, and transforming them into strength. This crown isn't ornamental, it's symbolic. It bears the marks of what you overcame, the sacrifices you made, and the inner battles you conquered when discouragement tried to bury you. It doesn't glimmer because of gold, it shines because of the glory that radiates from a life laid down in obedience. You didn't climb a ladder to wear it, you crawled through seasons of isolation, betrayal, confusion, and refinement. You felt unseen, overlooked, and out of place, but you never gave up. You stayed rooted when it seemed like everyone else was being celebrated. You held your tongue when your flesh wanted to respond. You stayed kind when bitterness came knocking. And in all of that, you were being crowned not by human ceremony but by divine recognition. This is not a crown that the world can take or tarnish, because it wasn't given by them, it was appointed by me. You carry it not to prove anything to others, but as a sign that you have survived what should have broken you. It is a crown of intercession, persistence, purity, and power. And those who see you now will not understand the cost. They only see the glory, not the growing that preceded it. But I know the truth. I know the nights you battled thoughts you never spoke aloud. I know the days you were surrounded by people, yet felt completely alone. I know the decisions you made in secret to honor me when compromise would have been easier. And I know what it took for you to keep your heart open after it had been wounded so many times. I crown you not because you never fell, but because you always got up with me. I watched as you chose compassion over retaliation, patience over panic, trust over control. That's what prepared you for this moment. And now, this crown isn't a reward, it's a responsibility. I've placed it on your life not for status, but for service. It's a call to walk with dignity, to lead with gentleness, and to shine without arrogance. It's a sign that you are a carrier of my kingdom, a vessel of my glory, a testimony of my faithfulness. Wear it with humility, knowing that it doesn't elevate you above others, it reminds you to lift them too. Let every person you encounter feel the weight of your compassion, not the height of your position. Because this crown isn't about being exalted, it's about being entrusted. And I trust you, my child. I trust you with influence, because you've shown integrity. I trust you with visibility, because you've learned how to honor me in the hidden place. This crown was not earned by perfection, but by persistence. Not by striving, but by staying. And now that it rests upon you, don't look to the crowd for validation. Look to me. I placed it there. And they will watch you walk in it not to be impressed, but to be impacted. Your strength wasn't only shown in survival, but in the softness you chose to preserve when hardness seemed justified. You had every reason to shut down, to become guarded, to mirror the harshness that was thrown your way, but you didn't. You let me keep your heart tender in a world that often rewards those who turn theirs to stone. I witnessed the restraint it took for you to hold back retaliation, the moments when your silence wasn't weakness, but wisdom wrapped in mercy. I saw the internal war between bitterness and compassion, and I celebrated every time you chose love even when your emotions pushed for distance. What looked like small decisions to others were actually powerful sacrifices in my sight. When you forgave the apology that never came, when you spoke life to someone who spoke death over you, when you gave again after being taken for granted. I was right there, smiling over your obedience. You weren't being passive, you were actively protecting what I planted in you. Your kindness didn't go unnoticed. It was multiplied in heaven and stored in places no one can steal from. A choice to remain soft in spirit was a quiet declaration that you trust me to bring justice, that you trust me to handle what your flesh wanted to fix. I honor that kind of trust, and I use it. I take the heart that chooses goodness in the face of cruelty and place a mantle on it that carries a different weight, one that doesn't just change your life, but touches every room you walk into. Because compassion in the midst of pain doesn't just reflect healing, it releases it. You've healed more people than you know, not with grand gestures, but with consistent grace. Your words have softened walls. Your smile has restored courage. Your prayers have pierced through hopelessness in places you'll never see with your own eyes. All because you refused to let pain redefine you. You didn't become bitter. You became better. You didn't let cruelty rewrite your character. You let my spirit refine your character through every hardship. And for that, I'm elevating you, not because you performed for attention, but because you carried me when no one else knew how deeply you were hurting. You were my ambassador in private trials. You bore my nature when no one else could see your struggle. And now, the purity you fought to keep will shine louder than the noise that once tried to harden you. The fruit of that kindness is about to bloom in ways that even your enemies won't be able to deny. They'll see doors open that you never knocked on. They'll watch influence gather around you without competition or calculation. And they'll wonder how someone so gentle could carry such weight. That's when they'll realize this isn't your doing. It's mine. I reward hearts that mirror my own. And you, my child, have shown that in a world chasing power, you chose presence. In a culture feeding ego, you sowed humility. That's why your voice will carry volume without shouting. That's why your legacy will be marked by peace, not power struggles. Because you remained soft where others would have turned hard. And that softness was never fragility, it was fireproof strength. It was endurance clothed in gentleness. It was me, living through you. So don't doubt the impact of those silent choices. They were not wasted. I'm taking every moment where you loved through pain and turning them into seeds that will birth influence, authority, and favor. And those who once thought your gentleness made you small will now see it was the very reason I've chosen to lift you. What I'm building in you is not driven by ego or noise, it's grounded in serenity that cannot be shaken by applause or absence. The world often assumes that rising must come with roaring, that success must be announced, flaunted, or proven. But what I am doing in you will be marked by a stillness that cannot be faked, a quiet confidence that doesn't crave attention. You won't need to elevate yourself, because I have already placed you where your light will shine without force. The platform that is forming beneath your feet is not a stage for show, it's sacred ground, meant for those who walk humbly and carry me within them. The elevation coming over your life will not stir up competition, it will stir awe. It will not incite arrogance, it will release grace. You have learned through your journey that real promotion doesn't come from striving, and because of that, you will walk in this season without the weight of self-exaltation. You'll stand tall not to be seen, but because you're finally free of the burdens that once made you bow your head in shame. Your rise will be clothed in peace because I've silenced the need to prove yourself. You no longer seek to convince anyone of your worth, you're anchored in the truth of who I say you are. You don't chase validation, because you've discovered the security of being known by me. And as I lift you, the world will witness something rare, someone who can ascend without becoming unreachable, someone who can lead without becoming untouchable. You'll be a vessel that carries influence without intimidation, power without pretense. That's the beauty of peace. I've rooted it so deeply within you that it now flows outward in everything you touch. It won't be the loudest rise, but it will be the most unshakable. It won't demand the spotlight, but it will radiate light. You won't need to announce the shift, your presence will make it evident. When you enter rooms, the calm you carry will settle storms others didn't know how to quiet. When you speak, your words will not boast, they'll heal. When your name is mentioned, it won't provoke envy, it will inspire. Because you have chosen the path of surrender over status, I am releasing a rise that can't be manipulated or mimicked. And this peace will not leave you once the crowds come. It will protect you from being changed by influence. It will remind you that you were chosen not because of what you can do, but because of who you are when no one is watching. I have not brought you this far to make you louder, I've brought you here to make you deeper. And that depth comes from me. It comes from knowing that success without me is empty, that recognition without righteousness is fleeting. You now know the difference. That's why your elevation will carry eternal impact. It's not for a season, it's for legacy. And those watching your rise will not understand how peace could carry such weight. But that's what makes it divine. It doesn't make sense to the world, but in heaven, it echoes with power. You are not just rising in life, you are rising in spirit. You are not merely stepping into influence, you are stepping into alignment. And that is what makes this journey holy. So don't be surprised when things begin to unfold quietly, but beautifully. That is my signature. And don't fear the silence, it is the sound of peace doing its perfect work. Walk boldly, but stay gentle. Rise steadily, but remain low in heart. Let them wonder how you're moving upward without striving. And when they ask, you'll know the answer. It's me. I am the reason. I am the peace. I am the one wrapping every step in grace so that your rise becomes more than a moment, it becomes a reflection of my presence. There's a shift coming that won't ask you to put on a show, craft a persona, or chase the crowd. This next season is not built on performance, but on presence, mine, and yours aligned with me. You don't need to rehearse your worth or stage your success. The doors I'm opening won't respond to effort for attention. They will respond to alignment with my instruction. You spent too long in spaces that made you feel like you had to earn your seat, prove your value, or stay visible to remain validated. But where I'm leading you, those burdens will fall off like old garments that no longer fit. Because I am promoting you from a place they cannot see, a place of surrender, trust, and devotion. Not everyone will understand it. Some may even question how it happened so suddenly. But you and I will know. It didn't happen in an instant, it was built through years of yielding when no one was watching. You chose obedience over recognition. You followed me when logic said to turn back. You stayed when the path grew narrow. You listened when your flesh wanted to move ahead. And now, what's unfolding is not a reward for performance, it's the fruit of intimacy. The world teaches that promotion is earned by competition and strategy, but my kingdom moves by surrender and listening. You won't have to strive to keep what I give you. You won't have to pretend to be more than you are. Your greatest strength in this new place will be your ability to hear me clearly and respond quickly. That's what sets you apart, not talent, not appearance, not connections, but the willingness to pause and ask, Lord, what do you want here? I will place you in rooms where the agenda shifts the moment you open your mouth, not because you rehearsed a performance, but because you carry revelation. I will set you before hearts that are desperate for truth, not entertainment, and they will drink deeply from the well of obedience you've cultivated. You'll realize you no longer need to chase open doors, they will find you because you've been walking in step with me. You'll no longer measure your value by visibility, because you'll know that visibility means nothing without authenticity. Your clarity will be your compass, and my voice will be your anchor. I'm raising up those who don't need a stage to be significant, only a whisper from me to move. You are one of them. This promotion will not be an elevation to prove something to the world, but a placement for influence that shifts atmospheres and draws hearts to me. And you will walk in it with peace, because you'll know it didn't come from manipulation or ambition, it came from the secret place, where you laid your dreams down and picked up my voice. Even when others are louder, you'll carry more weight. Even when others are faster, your impact will be deeper. Because what I'm building through you doesn't expire, it multiplies. Your faithfulness in the quiet has built a foundation no storm can shake. And from that foundation, I will raise you not to perform, but to transform. You won't feel the need to impress, because my presence in you will already be doing what no act ever could. You are being promoted not for being perfect, but for being available. And where I place you next, you won't have to wonder if you belong, you'll know you were sent. So keep your ears open. Keep your heart soft. Keep your focus on me. The world may applaud performance, but I anoint obedience. And my anointing will do more in one moment of surrender than years of striving ever could. This work I'm doing inside of you, this deep reshaping, this rewiring of your motives and restoring of your identity, it's not being done for temporary admiration. I'm not preparing you for fleeting recognition, but for something far more lasting, far more impactful. Applause fades. Fame flickers. Trends shift. But what I am forming in you will ripple beyond your lifetime. I'm anchoring your influence not in your talent, not in your charisma, but in the integrity of your walk with me. You weren't called to just make noise, you were called to make history in the spirit. What I pour through your life will outlive platforms. It will be sown into the hearts of generations. And this is why the process has taken time. This is why I've been so precise, so intentional. Because I'm not rushing a moment, I'm shaping a legacy. One that cannot be bought. One that doesn't require a spotlight. One that will speak long after your voice is gone. I've hidden you not to withhold, but to prepare. I've delayed certain outcomes not to discourage you, but to protect what I am planting so it can take root deeply. What I build slowly, I strengthen eternally. You've wondered why others seem to advance faster, why their success came quickly. But what you're carrying can't be rushed. It's weighty. It's generational. It's designed to last. Your pace is not your pattern. I'm not just thinking of this year, I'm thinking of what will be released through your life 20, 30, 50 years from now. And because of that, I've taken you the long way so your character would grow stronger than your gift. You are not being overlooked, you're being established. And the legacy I'm building through you won't just be in things accomplished, but in lives transformed. Your consistency will become a shelter for others. Your wisdom will be passed on like spiritual inheritance. Your choices now, though private, are laying foundation stones that others will one day stand on. This is why the cost has been great. This is why you've had to walk with me in seasons where no one else understood your sacrifice. It wasn't for applause, it was for endurance. Because those who chase fame get tired when the spotlight dims. But those who walk with me build roots that nourish long after their names are forgotten by man. I'm calling you to legacy, not popularity. To influence that remains, not trends that vanish. To significance that doesn't need a title, just truth. And every decision you've made to honor me when no one was watching has counted more than you realize. Every time you resisted shortcuts, every time you turned away from compromise, every time you chose the harder road simply because it was holy, you were writing history in the unseen. And soon, others will walk in doors that exist because you paved the path with prayer and purity. You'll begin to see fruit grow in fields you didn't even realize you were planting in. And you'll look back and realize that it was never about crowds, it was always about legacy. The kind that doesn't demand attention, but carries an undeniable impact. The kind that breaks generational cycles. The kind that brings restoration to families. The kind that awakens nations. And you, my child, are a vessel of that legacy. Not because of what you've accomplished, but because of what you've allowed me to shape within you. The legacy I'm building will bear my fingerprints. It will be laced with compassion, truth, and endurance. It will reflect me. And that's why I chose you, not for what the world sees, but for what I see. Because you were willing to say yes when it was quiet. Because you remained faithful when it was hard. Because you trusted me when it didn't make sense. That kind of heart builds a legacy no one can erase. There will come a time sooner than you think when the same voices that dismissed your potential, overlooked your presence, or doubted your future will begin to notice something different surrounding your life. At first, they won't understand it. They'll sense the shift in the way you carry yourself, in the peace you walk in the clarity behind your decisions. They'll observe the confidence in your silence and the stillness in your strength, and it will disrupt their assumptions. You see, they thought your pause was the end. They assumed your quiet was a sign of failure. But I was orchestrating something far more profound behind the scenes. I was setting the stage not just for a return, but for a revelation. And now that your foundation has been established, I'm allowing the fruit to be seen. Not to embarrass them, but to show them what grace looks like when it completes its work. Their curiosity will rise not out of envy, but from bewilderment. Because everything they believed would bury you only made you stronger. The plans they assumed had failed were simply preparing you for what couldn't be taken from you. And now, as they come back, some with questions, some with apologies, others with quiet observation, they'll see that your rise wasn't built through noise or rebellion. It was built through alignment. They'll ask not just out of interest, but out of hunger, because something in your life will reflect what they know they're missing. They'll want to know how you remained grounded when everything around you was unstable. How you found your way forward when the road seemed to disappear. How your joy didn't depend on circumstance, and how your growth came without validation from the people who left you behind. And when they ask, you won't gloat. You won't remind them of what they said or what they missed. You'll speak with compassion, because you'll know what it felt like to be unseen. You'll answer not from pride but from peace. You'll point to me not with religious routine, but with authentic reverence. Because you know it wasn't your ability that brought you here. It wasn't strategy or connection or persuasion. It was the daily decision to trust me in the dark, to walk with me when it hurt, to listen to me when silence was your only companion. And that will be your answer. Not a formula, not a method, just me. I will have become the center of your story so completely that when they ask how you did it, your entire being will radiate. I didn't. They did. And in that moment, seeds will be planted in their hearts. Not because you argued, not because you defended yourself, but because the evidence will be undeniable. Your restoration will speak louder than their rejection ever did. Your peace will be more powerful than any explanation. I've written this chapter for a reason, not to prove them wrong, but to draw them to what is right. Your rise is not revenge, it's redemption on display. And as they watch, as they listen, some will be changed. Others may still not understand. But all will know there is something different about you. Something they can't label, but can't ignore. And that difference is me, live in you. So be ready not to explain, but to reveal. Not to retaliate, but to respond with wisdom and gentleness. Because your life is becoming a question that only I can answer. And as they come closer, your story will no longer be about what you lost, it will be about what I gave. They will come asking how you rose. And you will simply say, He never let me fall. When the moment comes, and it will, when the spotlight returns to the chapters they once closed on you, your response will not echo pain, but reflect the freedom that only I could birth within you. You won't carry resentment in your voice or bitterness in your words. Instead, you'll speak from a place of healing so deep, it will surprise even you. This isn't because you forgot the sting of their absence or the weight of their dismissal. It's because I've transformed that weight into wisdom and that sting into strength. Rising with me means you no longer carry what tried to crush you, you carry what I placed in your hands after the crushing ended. That's the difference. When people rise on their own, they often carry pride, and their progress becomes a weapon. But when I raise you, I remove the need to retaliate. I give you something greater than revenge, perspective. I show you what truly mattered and what didn't. I pull your eyes away from old offenses and fix them on eternal purpose. I take the desire to make others feel what you felt and replace it with compassion for those still living in blindness. You begin to see that their dismissal wasn't personal, it was limited vision. And now, you no longer seek to punish them for it. You've grown past it. Not because you're pretending it didn't hurt, but because you've been transformed by something far more powerful than offense. My mercy. You are a carrier of grace now. That doesn't make you weak, it makes you dangerous to the darkness. Because when you refuse to return evil for evil, when you bless instead of curse, when you forgive instead of holding a grudge, the enemy loses one of his greatest tools against you. You are no longer bound to the past, you are free. And freedom speaks differently. It doesn't rehearse what happened, it releases it. Not to forget, but to rise without chains. You'll have opportunities to remind them of what they did, to prove how far you've come. But instead, you'll smile with the knowing that your life already says it all. You'll walk into rooms with the same people who once overlooked you, not with tension, but with quiet authority. They'll feel the shift. Not because you carry revenge, but because you carry weight. The weight of a soul untouched by bitterness. The power of a heart fully restored. And that is what will unsettle them, not your success, but your serenity. You won't need to raise your voice. Your presence will say everything. They'll expect a version of you shaped by pain, but they'll meet someone shaped by peace. That is how I raise my children, not to settle scores, but to settle atmospheres. Your rise is about more than personal victory, it's about ushering in a different spirit wherever you go. You will carry mercy into rooms where pride once ruled. You will extend grace in conversations where competition used to live. You will be the unexpected interruption to cycles of offense. And through you, I will show them what redemption really looks like. This is the way of my kingdom. The higher you go, the lower your heart bows. Not to people, but to me. You're not rising for vindication, you're rising to demonstrate transformation. That's what makes this rise holy. That's what makes it real. Anyone can climb, but only those who walk with me rise like this, with peace instead of pretense, with gentleness instead of vengeance. So when the moment comes, don't waste your energy explaining the past. Let your character speak. Let your choices speak. Let your mercy speak. And in that silence, I will be heard. For I am the one who lifts you. I am the one who covers you. I am the one who teaches you how to carry grace with strength. And in doing so, I make sure that your rising not only changes your life, it begins to change the lives of those around you. His rising isn't about stepping into visibility, it's about ascending into clarity. I'm not simply bringing you forward. I'm lifting you out of the chaos that once clouded your thinking, the confusion that tried to warp your worth, and the limits that others placed on your identity. You've lived in the noise long enough, the voices that talked over your purpose, the distractions that pulled you away from peace, the doubt that echoed louder than truth. But now I'm drawing you higher, where the atmosphere is different, where the air is clearer, where my voice is no longer competing with distortion, but leading you without interference. This place I'm lifting you into is above assumptions, above accusations, above anxiety. It's where you are no longer tethered to the past definitions others gave you. You're no longer shaped by what they said, feared by what they whispered, or hindered by what they expected. I'm removing the static that dulled your discernment. I'm detaching you from narratives that were never written by me. You are being elevated not for applause, but for alignment. You will rise above limitations that once felt immovable. Mental ceilings, emotional restraints, generational patterns, I'm breaking through them all. This isn't about escaping pressure. It's about overcoming perspective. You're not just going higher, you're seeing clearer. You'll begin to recognize how much of your hesitation wasn't because you lacked ability, but because you were surrounded by noise that clouded your vision. That ends now. I'm taking you beyond survival mode, beyond people-pleasing, beyond self-doubt. And in this altitude, you'll hear me like never before. You'll walk in decisions with confidence, not confusion. You'll speak without second-guessing. You'll move without seeking confirmation from those who never saw your calling to begin with. Because once you've risen above the noise, you no longer live at the mercy of its volume. You become governed by truth, not by trending opinions. You operate by revelation, not reaction. And from this higher place, I will show you what's real and what's been a distraction in disguise. I will give you strategies that won't come from textbooks or algorithms, but from moments alone with me. I will unlock ideas and direction that make no sense to the world but bring supernatural results. The limits that once boxed you in financial restrictions, time constraints, emotional fatigue will lose their grip as I teach you how to move with kingdom authority. You'll no longer ask, "Can I do this?" You'll begin asking, "Lord, how would you have me do it?" And from that question, wisdom will flow. Because in this new place, you are not ruled by circumstance, you are led by calling. You'll look back at the noise and realize how small it was compared to my voice. You'll wonder why you listened to it for so long. But don't shame yourself, just stay above it now. Keep your ears tuned to me, and your eyes focused on where I'm taking you. Don't descend to respond to critics. Don't pause to convince the doubtful. What I'm doing through you will speak louder than any defense. The elevation I bring doesn't just take you out of something, it brings you into something greater. Into a life where you're not swayed by comparison, not slowed by overthinking, not imprisoned by fear of failure. I'm replacing every false ceiling with open skies. I'm teaching you how to soar not on the wings of ego, but on the wind of my spirit. And in this rise, you'll experience peace in places that used to overwhelm you. You'll find stillness in the midst of activity. You'll know that your strength is not in how loud you are, but in how rooted you've become. Because the higher you go with me, the quieter your surroundings become. Not because there's nothing to hear, but because now, you hear only what matters. So rise not just up, but above. This is where you belong. When people look at your life, they won't be captivated by a dramatic return or a sudden rise, they'll be moved by the quiet, relentless persistence that carried you through every season. The real miracle won't be a single event they can point to, but the unshakable resolve you displayed when it would have been easier to quit. I've watched you show up on days when your heart felt too heavy to lift. I saw you keep believing when your faith was being challenged by every visible fact. Your miracle wasn't a moment, it was your refusal to disconnect from me when nothing made sense. The world applauds the visible triumphs, but heaven celebrates the internal victories. And you had more of those than you know. It wasn't the breakthrough that made you strong, it was the discipline of remaining when progress was invisible. Your prayers didn't always feel powerful, but they were consistent. Your worship didn't always feel full of joy, but it was honest. Your obedience didn't come from hype, it came from commitment. And that's what I honor. You've built endurance not through the applause of others, but through the decision to stand firm when no one was watching. Others may be impressed by a single outcome, but I'm revealing the beauty of your consistency, the way you refused to let time rob your trust, the way you guarded your heart even while waiting for the promise, the way you held on to integrity when compromise would have been easier. You are not where you are because of luck or timing, you are here because of faithfulness. It's been built layer by layer, choice by choice, surrender by surrender. And now, the fruit is beginning to bloom. They will look for a dramatic explanation, but they'll find no shortcut, no secret formula, no sudden explosion of success. What they'll find is the pattern of persistence, the accumulation of small yeses that became the foundation for your rise. You didn't take shortcuts, and because of that, you're walking in something that can be shaken. Your roots go deep. Your foundation is firm. What I've built in you can carry weight. This isn't a comeback story, it's a testimony of resilience. And what makes it miraculous is not how fast you moved, but how steady you became. You weathered storms without letting go. You held the line when others scattered. You returned to me over and over when it would have been easier to shut down. And now, that steady rhythm of trust is becoming the melody that others will hear when they look at your life. They'll wonder how you stayed afloat when waves kept coming. They'll ask how you didn't let bitterness take root, how you didn't let disappointment harden your heart, how you kept showing up without recognition. And the answer will be this: I was your anchor. Your miracle isn't just that you're rising now, it's that you never stopped walking with me even when the journey slowed to a crawl. This kind of consistency can't be manufactured. It's forged through intimacy with me, through learning to trust me on the days you had no strength left. And now that you're standing taller, they'll want to know how it happened. But I'll make it clear it was the depth of your devotion, not the height of your circumstances, that defined your breakthrough. This is why your story will bring healing. It won't intimidate, it will invite. Because it tells the truth that growth doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes, it looks like quiet courage and simple obedience. And that's what you've carried all along. So let them see the miracle, not the one moment that changed everything, but the lifetime of moments where you chose to keep going when no one would have blamed you for stopping. That is what I'm proud of. That is what I'm revealing. And that is why your rise will not only be noticed, it will be remembered. What they thought was your disappearance was actually my divine concealment. I didn't remove you from view because you weren't worthy. I took you away because what I was doing within you needed protection. There are some things too sacred to be shaped in public, and I chose to mold you in the secret place. You weren't missing, you were mature. You weren't forgotten, you were being fortified. And while others moved ahead visibly, I was building you invisibly. I wasn't rushing to reveal what wasn't ready. I was crafting a version of you that could carry not just opportunity, but oil. The time away from the spotlight was not wasted. It was woven into your calling with precision. I hid you from people, from platforms, from pursuits that would have drained your purpose prematurely. I covered you not to punish but to preserve. I knew what you would carry, and I refused to let shallow hands shape something that required the hands of heaven alone. You weren't idle during that season, you were in incubation. Growth was happening beneath the surface where no one else could see. And now, you're emerging not with noise, but with a depth they won't be able to explain. They'll try to place you in the category of a comeback, but that would be too small. Because you didn't fall, you were simply withdrawn. Not by failure, but by design. I've been guarding your purpose like treasure in a vault, not to keep it from the world, but to release it at the precise moment when it will not be squandered. And this is that moment. This is the unveiling, not a performance, but a revealing. You didn't force your way back into view. I am bringing you forward on my timing, not theirs. And what's coming forth now isn't a return to where you were, it's an emergence into who you've become. They expected the same version of you they remember, but they'll be met with someone transformed by fire, sharpened in silence, and fueled by presence, not pressure. You no longer fit the framework they assigned to you. That old container can't hold what I've placed within you. This is a new era, not a reset, but a resurrection of what was hidden and now made whole. They may be surprised by your strength, but you won't be. Because you've lived the unseen work. You've been face to face with me in moments where the world had no access. You've grown familiar with my voice, dependent on my guidance, and secure in my timing. That's why when you speak, there's weight. That's why when you move, things shift. Because your unveiling is not about being seen, it's about being sent. I didn't raise you in public because I needed you to learn how to walk in purpose without the noise of applause. And now that you know how to follow me in stillness, I can trust you to follow me in visibility. You no longer fear being known, because you no longer need validation to remain grounded. The version of you that's stepping forward now is anchored, not reactive. Quietly bold, not desperately loud. Full of purpose, not performance. And those who once wondered where you went will now wonder how you carry what you do. And when they ask, the answer will not be found in effort, strategy, or connections. It will be rooted in one truth: you were hidden by me, for me, until the right time. And now, the time has come. This unveiling will not be about restoring what was lost, it will be about revealing what was never gone, only guarded. So don't shrink. Don't apologize. Don't explain the silence. It was sacred. Let your life speak now. Let your presence testify. You were not late. You were not missing. You were being readied for such a time as this. They won't fully understand it at first. They'll see a radiance on you that doesn't match anything this world can manufacture. It won't be tied to your appearance, your achievements, or your resources. It will be something far deeper, something unmistakable, uncontainable, unexplainable by natural terms. What they'll notice is the atmosphere around you, the sense of calm in your steps, the kindness in your gaze, the clarity in your words. They'll feel the shift when you enter the room, not because of volume or visibility, but because of the substance you now carry. That light, subtle yet powerful, quiet yet undeniable, is not the result of self-effort or image crafting. It is the overflow of time spent with me, the afterglow of being in my presence and letting me transform you from the inside out. The shine is not your own, it is mine, reflected through a surrendered vessel. I've polished you in the secret place, washing away the residue of past wounds, buffing out the insecurities that once dulled your shine, and replacing them with grace, with peace, with truth. You've become a mirror that doesn't distort but reveals. And that's why it captivates those who encounter you, not because they see you, but because they get a glimpse of me through your life. This is what I meant when I said you are the light of the world, not to be hidden, not to be dimmed by fear, but to display my nature through every interaction, every act of love, every word spoken in truth. This light won't burn out under pressure because it wasn't ignited by performance. It won't flicker in the face of criticism because it wasn't lit by approval. It was born in the refining fire of communion with me. And because of that, it is steady, it is constant, it draws without demanding, it heals without even trying. That light is what will distinguish you, not your title, not your status, not your skill set. It will be the mark of someone who's walked with me and allowed me to shape them without rushing the process. It will shine in ways you don't even notice when you extend grace where it isn't deserved, when you speak hope into someone's despair, when you forgive without being asked, when you lead with humility instead of pride. You won't need to point to yourself, your life will already be pointing to me. And that is where true influence begins, not when people are impressed by you, but when they are drawn to the source within you. This is the light I've placed in you, not a spotlight for show, but a torch that carries fire for generations. You are not meant to hide it, to tone it down, or to question its validity. You are meant to carry it boldly and walk into the places I lead you, knowing you were designed to illuminate dark spaces. Not because you have all the answers, but because you carry the one who does. You are not perfect, but you are yielded. And that's what allows the light to remain clear, undistorted, untainted. So as they begin to look at you differently, as the conversations shift and the questions arise, know this: it is not about attention, it is about assignment. I'm positioning you to reflect me, not for your fame, but for their freedom. Because when they see the light in you, they will be reminded that they, too, were made for more. Your light will awaken theirs. Your obedience will create openings for others to step into their own divine calling. And that ripple of reflection will grow, one heart at a time. This is more than a rise, it's a release of my glory through your yielded life. Let it shine, not from effort, but from trust. Let it glow, not from striving, but from being with me. You are the lamp I've chosen, and through you, the world will see me clearly. What I'm setting before you now isn't a moment of revenge, it's a declaration of restoration. I've arranged a place for you, not behind closed doors, but in the open. Not to humiliate others, but to highlight what I can do with a surrendered life. The table I've prepared is not symbolic, it's real, and it's unfolding right in front of eyes that once doubted your future. You won't have to lift a finger to force it. You won't need to shout your arrival. The table itself will speak. It will testify of my provision, my timing, and my intentional love for you. And yes, I've allowed those who misunderstood you, dismissed you, or wounded you to have a view, not to shame them, but to open their hearts to what grace really looks like. They'll watch you dine in peace, not because you ignored the pain, but because you let me heal it. You'll be seated in stillness, not as someone seeking attention, but as one who trusted me enough to let the process refine them. This isn't about proving a point. It's about revealing a promise. I told you that I would prepare something special for you, a space of joy, a setting of favor, a place where peace and purpose intertwine. And now, it's being set. What once seemed far away is coming into reach. But the most powerful part isn't the feast, it's who you've become while waiting for it. You're no longer defined by the past season. You're not driven by resentment. You're not anchored in bitterness. You're seated in confidence, clothed in humility, and ready to receive without needing validation. The same ones who questioned your resilience will now witness your renewal. The ones who walked away before your breakthrough will see that you never stopped walking with me. I didn't set this table out of spite. I laid it out in love, because this is what it looks like when I defend the obedient, when I restore the faithful, when I honor the unseen sacrifices. There were moments you didn't think you'd make it to this place. There were days you felt too empty to dream again. But I kept preparing, kept building, kept arranging the feast while you continued to trust me with nothing but mustard seed faith. And now, what I've made ready isn't ordinary, it's an overflow. The table isn't just for you to eat, it's for you to host. Others will come hungry, not for food, but for the presence that surrounds your life. They'll sit in awe not of you but of what I've done through you. And your life will become the evidence, not of your strength but of my grace. I didn't give you this eat because you demanded it. I gave it to you because you surrendered when it would have been easier to walk away. I gave it to you because you allowed me to lead when it would have been easier to take control. I placed you here because you chose character over comfort, truth over trend, and healing over harboring hurt. This table is your reward not for perfection, but for perseverance. And as you sit, I'll pour peace that can't be shaken. I'll pour favor that doesn't need explanation. I pour joy that springs up from places once filled with sorrow. And while you eat, I'll speak. You'll hear me clearly again without the noise of shame, without the pressure to perform. You'll feast on purpose. You'll drink in clarity. You'll be filled with the assurance that what I've prepared isn't fragile, it's firm. This table will mark the shift. From surviving to thriving. From wondering to knowing. From hidden to commission. So take your seat not with arrogance, but with awe. Not with pride, but with peace. Let them watch not because you need them to, but because I've chosen to let my glory shine through your story in full view. The table is ready, and it's yours. Amen.